right, previously we've been talking about how to work your way up to generate 10,000 ringgit a month, saving for the rainy day, and also do your financial planning. Today we're going to talk about buying your new home. And we're going to have Sean, a content creator, particularly on property, and he did like 432 videos, which are mostly about property review for KL, Johor, Penang, and Kuching. Usually you see people do reviews about food, gadgets, but this is really entirely different. And you guys should check it out in case any of his review would be the property that you intend to buy. And you can check it out in his YouTube channel at Iherng, Iherng. Yeah, I got that right, Sean?
Yes. Not many people got it right though.
Great. All right, so it's not every day we buy property, like how we buy our vegetables out there. So I used to think property is maybe landed because I stay there, I grow up from there until I start to move out to pursue my degree and move into an apartment. And wow, it cost me like 400 to 600 ringgit a room. Oh my goodness. So what are the different types of property and category out there that you can share with us today, Sean?
I think category-wise is based on a few things. So it's based on the usage first, number one, which is like commercial, industrial, residential, and empty land. So those are categories of properties that you can invest into. Then from a person that is about to invest or a youngster that is about to buy a property, it differs into two things. Number one, is it for investment or is it for own stay? So that is the intention that will dictate whatever property that you're going to buy. So after you dictate that intention, then only you will decide whether you want to go for high rise, you want to go for landed, you want to go for cluster, you want to go for semi bungalow, whatever lah. Yeah, so those are the different categories in different point of views.
So, nowadays people have a lot of choice. It's not necessary that they stay in the landed property or high-rise building. But, for youngsters who have this sort of dilemma, because back then they stay, like people like me staying in a landed property, is it still advisable to go aim for a landed property?
I call landed property the nasi lemak property of Malaysia lah. It means, right, every Malaysian that grows up, right, all grew up mostly in a landed property, which is like a terrace house generally. And that becomes the norm of buying because their only reference of property investment tend to be their own parents. And if you look back 30 years ago, not many high rises. That was the days when office complex were coming up in KL. There was no apartments available. Hence, there's a lot of stigma towards high-rise living. And that time, strata title also not very advanced. A lot of people are not well aware of what to do with strata, what not to do with strata title and things like that. However, as our lives gets a bit more busier, right, we tend to prioritize time over comfort sometimes, especially during when we are young, like you mentioned, right? Why a room can cost 600 when a terrace house, right, can cost way less. We will prioritize time, right? That I would pay slightly a bit higher just to be close to where I work. So I save on time. I would pay more to be in the CBD. So because that's my uni, that's my college, that's my makan, minum, everything all in one place. So convenience tops all that. If you look into your back in the days, right, where your terrace house living lifestyle is, everything you want to do, drive out. There's no other choice. But now it's different. So now we have Grab, we have LRT, MRT.
So, I noticed that you are considering all the factors that if someone wants to buy in that particular location. But nowadays, what if we are moving to a direction whereby our working place can take us somewhere different from maybe me as a Sarawakian staying here, I got a job maybe in KL. Then I have to leave my house here. What about that?
I think this relates to the misconception of people buying a property for staying purposes. I think everyone thinks that when I buy a house, it's only for staying. So it's a very different thing. So that's why when we say property as an investment or property for your own stay, are you buying an investment tool or are you buying the property as a home to live in? It's a very different mindset. I assume that you're 26, 28, right? And you want to buy something now. So I would advise to buy investment properties So it doesn't matter where you are, the rental still comes to you. So even if you stay in temporarily for 3 to 5 years, let's say a Bangkok offer or a West Malaysia offer, right? You just fly there, you can immediately rent it out. In the channel, I always encourage youngsters to invest first. Don't buy the dream home, because the first biggest mistake, right, for youngsters is they buy their dream home as their first property.
So dream
That's very
home
bad
probably
because
will cost a lot, right? Like 500, 600,000, Are they aiming that price?
correct. And they will max out. And that's the best pitch, right? When the salesman come to you, hey, I want to buy my home, but I really like this house. Okay lah. Hey, you know what? We
Right.
have the corner lot available. It's your dream home, once in your lifetime, just like marriage, right? Assuming we all married once lah. So people will
Okay.
tend to splurge. People will tend to splurge a lot for your first home because you will form a family and things like that. But that is based on what you understand at your current context only. Yeah, so it's pretty risky. I would say that, because if you can see, COVID proved most of us wrong. Like, we need to prove our business. We need to business proof ourselves now, right? It's so difficult. So I would suggest, when you have meaning all the family members of your household is formed already. Maybe I got 2 more children come out already. Only I start getting a home. And now you think about it, right? Pure money sense wise, renting a landed property makes more sense than owning it.
I mean, like,
So-
everyone
so-
has a choice now, right? Not necessarily they have to buy it, but in case they want
Correct.
to buy, they still have an
Correct,
option.
correct.
They can check it out. Yeah.
Correct. I know a lot of investors where they have 15 to 18 different properties, but they still rent the place they stay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, like, renting it out, and then, I mean, they
They
rent their
rent
own
out all
properties
their
out,
properties, but they rent a place where they like to stay.
Interesting perspective. They get to choose where they want to be, not necessarily at one of their house, and get everything out rented, so that it can generate the money for them. But how about nowadays, when people want to buy the property, do they really need to attend the property fair, or is it possible to actually sit down in your own comfort of your house, to buy the property?
I would use the metaphor in comparison to the latest Apple 12 lah. I don't need to really sit at a seminar for the product launch, right? So we are in this moment of time where everything is at our convenience. Property fairs, to me, it's when you know nothing, right? Because there's 3 categories of knowing. You know what you know what you don't know. But a lot of people are in the 3rd category, where they don't know what they don't know. If you don't know what you don't know, then the property fairs are a very good idea, where suddenly you go in and you act like a sponge, you absorb everything. But if you're a seasoned, you're kind of well-trained in investment knowledge and stuff, then I would suggest to go do it in the convenient, just because the COVID situation right now lah. So to not go into people with places with a lot of people lah. So I just want to keep away from that for this moment of time. But property fairs are kind of like an old school way of promoting things lah. It's just like a marketplace, but generally the internet is a bigger one.
Yeah.
So that's the whole intention of the channel as well. So the channel helps people bridge that knowledge gap at the convenience of your own PC. You go anywhere, your phone,
All right, next question. When's the right time to buy a property? Is there such thing as the right time to buy a property?
Yes and no. Okay, so in the macro scale of things, if you are into economics, you need to look into interest rate of the government. You need to look into the economy climate of the country, the unemployment rates, the GDP and stuff like that, right? So you need to make sure that this country or this particular location is booming in terms of population and rental rates and things like that lah. So if you are into that detail, then yes, there's a property cycle that we all follow. There's a rate where you still remember 3 to 5 years ago, there's an oversupply situation. Every newspaper, every media was talking about it. Oversupply. But then once COVID hit, now people say that it's a bull run. A bull run is coming soon, because the government introduced very, very low interest rates, right? It makes it so cheap to own a property right now. Then they are giving a lot of incentive to first-time home buyers as well. So a lot of buying and selling and happening. So that will stimulate the entire economy. That's the official answer. Personally, I believe any time is a good time to buy and any time is a good time to sell, because it's a personal game. It's not so much about how you compare to others. I think that's also the problem with the young people. You are not buying 20, 30, 40 properties, That's how people are playing. We are buying one. It's way easier to buy one because you are in control of the entire transaction, whether you want to buy or not, and why you want to buy. So at the convenience of your PC, you can do research, do comparison, go forum, go YouTube, go anywhere, right, to seek out every information you need. I would say that it's based on a personal readiness. So do you have that 6 months personal saving just for rainy days? Are you okay in terms of commitment? You can pay your bills on time. Then you have surplus, you have abundance of wealth. Okay, now let's channel that to something else. So when you are ready in that state, then only I would say it's more important rather than looking into the economy. Let's say now I give you a 1 in a million chance for this property deal. You don't have money. Then you try to figure out to get, you get what I mean?
The preparation wasn't there, right? Yeah.
Yep. So that is when luck comes into play. Like what's your level of preparation when the opportunity strikes? Yeah.
All right. So after this, we'll ask Sean more interesting questions. We'll be right back after this. All right, and we're back here with Sean, our property expert of the day, to talk about buying our first home. So Sean, I'm going to give you a scenario. If there's someone who has 400K worth of cash on hand, perhaps from his inheritance. So, buying his own first home, what will be a quick walkthrough that you can share with him?
I often share this in the channel. I call it the Sean basic 4 steps, the 4 basic steps of Sean. Just because it sounds cooler. Number 1 is to define the intent of buying first. So you gotta know, are you buying it for your own stay or are you buying it for investment? Step 2 is to actually determine how much you can afford in terms of financial. Yeah, it means, right, like if you walk into the bank, you go to the mortgage department and ask, based on my income now, based on the amount I have right now, what is the maximum amount that I can buy if I want to own a property right now, right? So let's say it's 600,000, right? So 600,000, I will then do the 20 different property tours. So, and it needs to be around that range. No point me looking at 2 million, 3 million bungalows, right? When I can only afford 600,000. Yeah, so this is when you zoom into different categories of property. Then the last one is to take that make the informed decision and take that consideration in terms of risk. And there's no right or wrong to this. It depends on what's your appetite. Some people big, some people smaller. And if he goes through the entire 4 steps, then he really knows pretty clearly what he can buy and what he cannot, and what he like to buy and what he don't like. So I think that's the message that I like to always send to youngsters, right? There's no right or wrong. Just that everyone has their own reasoning to buy that particular property, right? And it's very important to make that informed decision. Meaning when you buy, right, you know the bad side of the property, right? And you know the risk that comes with it. So if you want, you can like curb the worst case scenario already, right? Go for it, just pull the trigger.
Now, property is probably one of the most expensive thing that anyone can buy. So what's a good price entry to buy? How do they benchmark or compare to know what they are doing is right?
Buy in accordance to your affordability. And this varies. Unfortunately, the unfortunate truth for real estate is it's for the wealthy one, meaning like it's for rich people. That's number 1, the first part of it. The second part is if you want to buy, right, based on your affordability, a lot of people tend to just have a convenient excuse of, my budget's so low, got nothing in the market. They want a 400,000 property, but they expect a 1 million furnishing, 1 million location. That's because you are not seeing enough properties. A lot of people, again, their only reference is their parents or family members or peers. They are not seeing the actual result or actual image or condition in the real estate market. In KL, there's still a 400,000 apartment. But when they look at it, right, yeah, why like that one? Can stay one meh? Then you ask them to stay further away, then they will tell you, so far away, got nothing to do, no mall, no this, no that. So there's forever excuses for whatever they have. My take is then buy within your means. I think that's very important because it's like a 35 years commitment. If I look back, right, although I'm that property advocate and things like that, if I look back into my younger self, because I bought my first apartment in like 22, 23, if I'm 22, 23 today, right, most likely I will not buy, weirdly enough, because of the different opportunities that this current internet provides. I can now buy and sell things online. I can now do live streaming and make money online. I can do a lot of other things besides property. Because it's a 35 years commitment, it's a very big decision to make. Unless you're happy and your financial income is very, very stable already, then I think go ahead by all means. But if you are still in that, want to explore, you want to try out new things, you're still very curious about life, right? Hold that thing. So that's something that I would tell myself when I'm younger, when I have because when I buy also it's around that 400,000. Unless it's for a home, then it's a need, then it's a very different case. But if you're thinking about buy just so that I look cool, or I buy so I don't feel left out, then don't. Then think again. Because there's way too many options right now.
So even recently, the budget 2021 mentioned there will be a stamp duty exemption for properties that is priced up to 500,000 compared to the current exemption that is priced up to 300,000. So what impact will you see in the general for everyone? Is it going to be more purchases or developer get to sell their units faster?
We look into the direction of the budget, right? It's to help people survive. Okay. By surviving means investment comes later. It's only when you survive, then you have abundance, then only we talk about moving forward. So now it's to prevent businesses from dying, prevent children from starving and things like that. So the budget, I think in terms of the real estate segment, it's a welfare approach. It means, right, everybody should have a house or everybody can afford a house right now. So that's something I like. Nothing for commercial investors, nothing for to stir up the entire property segment. But I like the introduction of the continuation for what is that called? Government projects like the MRT3, the whatever HSR to Singapore. Then because that's a direct injection to capital into the market via construction most of the time. So that I see can stir up way more economy activities. So when the bottom and foundation of the society is settled, that's how the market can stabilize, and then we only have our benefits.
Awesome. So what books or videos, sites that you can recommend us if we want to learn more about how to buy our first home?
Unfortunately, only my channel currently. Yep, it's totally free, and I upload 4 to 5 times a week. You can check out my TikTok, my LinkedIn, my Facebook, my Instagram, my YouTube channel, all on Iherng. The main reason I created this is because when I was trying to educate my younger cousins, they say got nothing in the internet. And the problem is the real estate knowledge, right, is rather micro. It means, right, when I buy, there's certain land laws only applicable to Malacca, only applicable to Penang, only applicable to Sarawak. So there's still certain nuances, right, that differs the decision to invest. So I like to zoom into the entire process of making a decision. So buying a property, right, it's like a marathon of decision making. I realized that by sharing my entire journey, because I went through that when I was 22, and I hope that when I was 22 back then, there was something like this to refer to. It saves me a lot of time lah.
Yeah, eventually I think they have to go and try it out themselves first to determine whether is this true or not. You know, the more they check it out, the more they read, they will be able to identify what they think is right or not. All right, let's go for a short break before we wrap the discussion up today. Stay tuned, don't go away. All right, we're back with me, Ryan, your host for Bujang and Broke. All right, Sean, last question of the day. What will be your advice for our audiences who will be planning to buy their first home?
To always pursue the opportunity to make informed decisions and to take calculated risk. To choose, right, really to make the decision on being informed. I think that's the most important thing, where a lot of people tend to get lazy or tend to get very overwhelmed with information, especially for your first home. A lot of people tend to get tired after the third property or the fourth property research. Then you know what? Everything looks the same. Myself, I don't. So some audiences come back to me saying that, Sean, you're telling me to go through 20 different properties, right? By the time I reached my third one, I lost interest. So are you doing me a good deed or are you doing me a bad deed? It depends on whether are you okay with making a bad decision for 35 years or you just missed out on an opportunity that might make money. Yeah. So always choose to be informed and make that calculated risk. So that is something that I strongly encourage, even from the channel. I tend to repeat this a lot.
Awesome, Sean. All right, today we learned a lot from you. You told us to, check, first understand our intention first, whether are we buying this for our own stay or are we buying it to invest. Then secondly, check whether our income and what's our loan eligibility before we start to look around for the property.
Yep.
And third, go just do our research, at least 20 properties first before we make our decision. Take our time, there's no rush to it. So, we wish to talk more about this, but unfortunately we ran out of time already. And in the next episode, probably we'll be talking about how to get your mortgage loan approved. And all this is brought to you by TVS. My name is Ryan, your host for Bujang and Broke. I'll see you in the next episode.